Nothing like these super skinny microwaves, but I'm not sure what's going on with the door here. Wants to catch. That guy doesn't want to line up quite right. See? Yeah. Oh. I guess that'll turn on even if the door is open. See, even the water heater is leaking today. I don't know, they told my buyer that this was brand new. They just installed it. Well, you did a shitty job doing that. You didn't get the electrical on very good. Then you rip off the ID plate so nobody can tell what year it is, how big it is, what brand it is. I mean, it's pretty obvious to me it's a refurb. Always checking in the closets, especially in the garage, looking for water damage, leak damage. Especially termites. You'll find stuff like this. A little termite tube like that. See that little tunnel that they're drilling right beneath the tube there. So I don't think anything is active today, but somebody popped a hole down there to try and get access to it. These are really skinny shelves, but we've got previous termite evidence in several places in this garage. Over on this wall too. Quite a few tubes in a few spots here. One thing that brings in termites is really bad grading. So you've got rock all the way up to your stucco down there on this side where we're getting termites, so they're not visible when they get in the garage. And then also over here on this side, you know, this flower bed was installed and then more dirt was brought in and this whole area was lifted up. But now what it's doing is blocking your foundation, so you just covered your whole foundation wall up on the front side of the house here. If this retains any moisture, we're adding a bunch of extra moisture to this, and we've got a little bit of water damage right on the inside of the wall here. So you can see that they did some patchwork right down there at the base. Whether it be water damage, termite damage, it's hard to know until you open that wall up. See, this side looks good. We can see 3, 4, 5 inches in certain areas of the whole stem wall of the foundation. So it'll have an opportunity to dry out if it does get wet. And we don't have any termites. And if we do have termites, we could see them as they get into the house. Now as we go on this side of the house, we start to lose that again. They bring up rock, they bring up the grade. Especially on this side of the house, we've got everything is completely covered. All that foundation wall is completely covered by rock, so we have no idea if there's termites in this wall or not. And if it gets wet, it's going to stay wet for quite some time. So what you really need to do is get this stuff away from the foundation. I should be able to see 3, 4 inches of the foundation around there. That needs to happen all the way down. Because it's not visible, I can't report on it. Quite an interesting way of doing a floor. We've got some inlay tile in, other inlay tile, yeah. There's a lot of cracking going on as well. This tile is loose, you can see that crack comes all the way through here, through that tile, conveys through there, through here, conveys through this crack, conveys all the way through these tiles. And ends all the way up over here. You can see it's still trying to push through. Yeah, there's nothing else over here, but that's a big crack. That goes all the way through, and it doesn't just go this way. It comes in from this angle too, this direction. So we've got cracking forming through these tiles all the way through, and when it doesn't follow the grout line, that means this is a pretty good crack, right? So you got a crack here, and you can follow it through these tiles and follow it through there. So what's it telling me? It's telling me there's a crack in the slab, obviously. You know, if I want to get technical, we'd get a slab repair company in here to diagnose it, but we're getting cracks from this direction, cracks from that direction. It's kind of telling me something's pushing this up, in my opinion, or in my mind, or my experience. And when you have a bunch of concrete around your house like this, concrete here, concrete on the side, Really bad grading over there with dirt and rock brought up to the weep screed. What happens to the moisture when it gets under the slab? It's got nowhere to go. So it gets under the slab and then it pushes itself up. So it's called heaving. I believe that's what we have going on here. Correct me if I'm wrong. But we've got some major cracks that need to be replaced or fixed. So my client's happy. Pretty nice remodeled bathroom here. Not too much going on. Actually, a couple water leaks down here underneath the sink. Pretty easy to find once you have the infrared or a nice flashlight. Got a leak on each side coming down from each one of the faucet handles up there. Just installed too. Sink, tub, toilet, these were good in here. We've got some grout cracks in a few places along here. Just telling me the grout's getting old. Got some decent cracking coming in through there all the way through. That's a pretty substantial crack, and guess what? It kind of goes the way this is going. I didn't mention this to you guys a minute ago because we've got another crack here. See, this one forms all the way through. It's going all the way through. It hasn't started cracking this out yet, but I have an idea that it's trying to make its way over here to make a big X, right? Because that's what things do when they push up in the middle. You're going to have 4 pieces of concrete, one on each corner, like a pie shape, pizza slice shape, getting pulled up. And then the middle is going to have just a little X, a little square in it. Anyway, kind of concerned about that, especially with this crack as well. We go through the bedrooms, pretty straightforward. So the fans have been replaced in the bedrooms. We've got 3 switches here. 2 of them are for the fan and light, and then 1 is for the half hot over there. Same thing with this bedroom. We've got a half hot here connected to the switch. We've got the attic access here, which we're gonna poke up in a minute, but we've got a few spots of insulation missing in a few spots here. Like right up there, there's a big square missing of insulation that we need to get somebody up there to replace that. It's a bedroom. This is gonna be uncomfortable if you don't do that. Primary bathroom, we've got dual sinks, bathtub, shower. Now the shower drain is rather dirty today. It does look like ABS pipes. So when I do my sewer cam, it shouldn't be too terribly hard. Looks like nice tile. Looks like they did pretty good work around here. Looking for any loose ends, like that random tile down there that has no meaning. It's not even a piece of trim, it's just a piece of tile. No outlets are working in here because the GFI is tripped in the other bathroom. Now the one thing that I do when I see new sinks is at first I look down the overflow, see that they're almost always plugged because they never take out the stuff. And then I set my flashlight in here, spin the camera around, find caulking gaps that they miss. There's another big one over here on this side too. That's not the end of the world, but you know, you're buying something that's finished new, you want it new. You don't want to have to come in and fix it after they've already repaired it. Bathroom's pretty straightforward, or toilet, lavatory. I just give the old wiggle. Got nothing going on. It's nice and solid down on the floor. Check for water leaks under the tank there. Make sure that this tank is nice and tight. Got a little bit of a movement to it, but it is tight. That's about it. Some of the caulking that they did is just how do you want to say, unprofessional. Very unprofessional. You can see the magic marker line below that because you use clear caulking. A lot of that is just worn out, gross, grody. On the inside of the shower is where we really need the caulking to be doing its job, and you can tell down there it's not. We've got big gaps down in the corner. On the other side of the shower it's fine. Grout lines going up are good. But because this GFI won't reset in the hall bathroom, the way that these houses are set up, this is going to have power now. The main bathroom outlets, don't have power either, nor does the outlet in the garage. So these GFIs are all connected to that hall GFI. So one thing I looked at the garage door here is it's not closing all the way. I was trying to check to see how level it looked, because it looks like somebody bent it in. It's catching on the bottom of the floor here. So we want these things to automatically self-close. They do have a self-closer built onto it, but when we just let it go, it catches right there. So I'm a little bit concerned on what's making that concrete move. Doesn't look like the hinges have been adjusted very recently. They're painted pretty solid. But then when I do let it close, it does make its way all the way through here. See that the bottom's making a good connection. As you come up here farther, we've got gaps. We've got a good 1/4 inch gap. So there's something going on with this door or the door frame that's not straight anymore. We need to keep this sealed because we need to keep fire barrier wall intact, and we also need to keep the carbon monoxide from coming into the house. So a couple of things I'm seeing on the roof here. We got a little bit of a tree overhang on the front there, but I like that we have gutters. We have gutters throughout the whole property. Yeah, we got a couple pitties over there trying to get some attention, but gutters are plumb full of debris. So we don't have any use for these gutters right now until they get cleaned out. This flat surface over here, the rolled roofing doesn't look too bad. Looks like they've done some patching on the corners. Got the seams all nice and tied down. We've got counter flashing, sidewall flashing going up. We actually have the laundry vent up there. That's not a good way to install that. There's a screen behind that, so any lint that's trying to get out, it's stuck up there. It's not going to get out at all. Got a cracked tile here. Not too concerned about that because this flashing goes up a ways underneath of it, or the rolled roofing. Another crack here. Really not seeing too many cracked tiles today. Got a little bit of damage out there on this patio cover. But this metal roof, you know, it's gonna last as long as you can keep these screws from rotting out, as long as you can keep the top of this board from rotting out too, because once this gets wet, this is just bare wood. It's not even painted. It's just gonna split out, rot out, and then all these things are gonna fall off. But one thing I'm looking at when I'm looking at roof is underlayment. On concrete tile, we have underlayment, and I can't see most of it, so I'm trying to figure out what's been replaced, how's it been replaced, how old is it. So things I'm looking at is fasteners. How shiny are the fastener heads? Pretty shiny on this side. These don't look too bad, right? These are pretty good looking, but when we get to this side, look at these. Look at how rusty these nails are. Some of them aren't even in there anymore because they've fallen out. So I want to double check and make sure they didn't just replace underlayment on this side and not this side. I want to make sure that they did it on the whole thing. So I go around and pull up a few tiles here and there. We're going to take a peek underneath this one. And look, you can tell that batten board is almost brand new. Felt underlayment. You can see the top stuff looks a little bit different than the bottom stuff there. That stuff still looks good. Take a look at the mortar caps. These could have been maybe done a little bit better. You want to make sure all those gaps are filled in. So I'm guessing they replaced the underlayment a few years ago, 3 to 5 years ago. It's my best guess because these mortar caps don't crack out the first year. It takes them a little bit of time to dry out and crack. But every time they take the tiles off, they have to replace these. So I'm thinking it's about 5 years old. Another thing I do is I look at the flashing, look at the vents, looking for any penetration gaps, specifically around the boot. The boot's gonna get these little gaps where they have to be caulked to fill them in. Otherwise you'll get leaks inside your roof or in your attic. Look at how big this gap is. So the rain coming down, some of it's going to go down the vent, which is completely fine because this connects to your drain system. It's just going to go down and follow your drain system out to the street. But water runs off the side of it here and it goes right into your attic. Right in there. This chimney stucco with a metal flue liner. This thing is wore out. You can see all the metal lath poking through the stucco here. This house is 22 years old, 24 years old. But then stucco holes, all the water that's going to be raining down in here, it's going to go right into this chimney. Going to create bad environment for mold, or a good environment for mold, if you will. And then all nail heads should be covered with sealant. And after a few years, that sealant will dry out and it will crack, and you will lose that sealant. So regular maintenance is required. But yeah, all in all, not a bad roof. The tiles, you can see they're different. You can see different shading here and there. You know, all these tiles were pulled up and replaced in different spots. So they're going to look a little bit goofy when they do that. That's a good indication that they went through and they replaced the underlayment. So if you're driving by, keep your eye out on those few things. You know, the dead valleys, you almost always have to replace those. That's just, you know, it's like a mineral paper cap sheet. So any water debris gets down there, it's going to flow away from that. So those things only last like 10-15 years before they need to be replaced. And like we said about the mortar caps before, a little bit of cracking, not bad though. So I'm giving this roof 5 years old. That's my best estimate. Not the tiles, just the underlayment. I don't like how these rain gutters don't have ends. You know, all this is just going to be beating down on the tile, causing more problems. And that little gutter right there, it's missloped. Number one, this whole thing is tilted off to the wrong side because that discharges to the right, but it's plumb full of crap. Yep. And this doesn't look like it was just the gutter that started hanging down. This whole roof section right here is dropped. So this whole thing, instead of being level anymore, is dropped down like this. No water is getting out of here. All the debris is just going to collect in there. You'll never get it out until you fix that roof. Even right here behind the ladder now, I missed this on the way up, but stuck a hole, big old stucco hole there. You can see all this lath is visible on the top side of this. Look at all that. So I'm at the electrical panel. There's not too much going on, just your standard double tap. Pretty clean panel, hasn't been touched too much, 200 amp service here. But one thing we look for on this age of a house is plywood backer board. So this electrical panel was mounted on a piece of plywood and then mounted to the house. And by doing that, you're exposing this wood to the elements. So any water that might want to land up here, rot that wood out, is going to cause this electrical panel to slowly pull away from the house. We've seen it before. It doesn't look like it's happened here yet, and this electrical panel is nice and secure, but that's what happens when you have a plywood backer. That needs to stay sealed up really well, especially back there in that corner, to prevent this thing from causing any damage to the electrical panel here. No, tell me you didn't do that. No. This is the air conditioning unit, air handler up in the attic. Looks like they cut the structure just to make it fit. Big no. Oh, that's not good. So now we're worried about structural movement up here on the roof structure. Those little metal straps aren't going to support the weight of that, man. So they got the dryer vent mounted right behind it. Duct tape, wonderful. Oh, that structure, man. That's not good at all. So this is a condensate overflow or condensate breather pipe, overflow breather, and that's a P-trap that prevents anything from coming back and forth through that little P-trap area. If this thing overflows, if that line were to back up, this thing would boil over and it would go down on the ground. So what we do is we try to route that above this drain pan, so if it does drop down into the drain pan, at least it's going outside. We want to make sure that we got a good angle on that. And this pan is angled right down in this corner. It's not angled for that whole side, it's just angled for this corner right here. So whatever drips down here is going to build up in the corner before it goes down through there. Electrical wires right there, that's a mess. That junction box is not connected to anything, it's just hanging there. So we need to secure the wiring, especially around the attic hatch here. That's a dangerous place to have a lot of loose wiring. But I also noted some missing insulation here on the vertical surface right next to the HVAC system. You're just missing a big piece of bad insulation. That's that blue spot that we can see on the thermal camera. And we have more bat insulation up here. That looks like that piece of bat that they ripped out of that sidewall there. But ductwork and ductwork. Looks like a Vienna sausage back there. I can't even get back there. There's like no room to move up here. This is a very small attic and all this ductwork was just pushed around. Look, another bare spot on that vertical wall. That would show up on the thermal camera as well. But a lot of this insulation was just pushed back here and it's just sitting. What is that doing? It's not even insulating anything. So I would get an insulation contractor to come up here and clean all this stuff up. Make sure you get all those little areas covered with insulation so you're not spending more money on your heating bill than you have to. And oh look, no insulation right below the HVAC system. Yeah, that's in the house. And because this is the closet of a kid's bedroom or a bedroom, likely it was from a kid or just some idiot trying to run the clock down. So you can imagine if it was kids up here, they're playing around in fiberglass insulation. You're breathing fiberglass dust all the time. You know, they're pulling insulation off walls that insulate the house. All that insulation right there. You know, it had to go somewhere at some point. I was trying to figure out what that rust was coming from, and it's just missing insulation on the condensate line. So you need to insulate this thing all the way down to the unit, because it builds up condensate when it's 160 degrees in the attic and that thing's about 30 degrees. It's going to drip. It's going to drip right there. All it needs is some more of that black stuff. That's all that needs. And by adding all this extra dirt, this is where the main plumbing cleanouts are too. So by adding all that dirt, you just buried my plumbing cleanouts, so we don't have access to it. You know, we look at the neighbor's property and look underneath that little bench there, and that's the plumbing cleanout right by the front window there, on the left side of the property. So we can expect ours to be roughly in the same spot here, but since I can't dig in this, I'm gonna have to try and go through the roof. Sewer camera inspection at 7710 North 30th Drive. We're at a roof plumbing vent stack, kind of on the north side of the property, above the hall bathroom. I'm going to go down into this pipe and get down into the sewer lateral through this pipe. No plumbing cleanouts were visible at the front of the house. Did a little bit of digging, but I don't want to damage any underground pipes or lines, so I quit digging. And got the sewer camera up here to the roof. So that's where the bathtub drains into the main drain system right there. ABS pipes look good on the inside so far. A little bit of debris. A little bit more debris in the line there. 87. So I'm going to go turn the water off and pull the camera back. It looks like we've got some water being retained there. I can't push my camera head any further. So it's rated 87 feet. The front yard where that goes down gets full of water. That very well could be the city connection, but the city connection shouldn't be underwater. I definitely have this line cleaned out, have your main plumbing cleanouts located, and then have it re-scanned, make sure that all the pipes are level. Looks like we're retaining some water in a couple of spots here. Retaining water here again too at 66 feet. This will be in the front yard like that. Yeah, it's between 63 and 68, 67 feet. We definitely have a drop in this section. See how the water goes down, builds up right there. We got something causing a backup right there. Bye.